She reveals her medical bill to her CEO. His heartwarming response of $20,000 changes everything. Sarah's heart raced as she stood in the gleaming office of Bill, the gruff CEO of the manufacturing firm where she toiled day in and day out. The weight of the world pressed against her chest. The $20,000 medical bill for Ethan's treatment blinked like a neon sign in her mind. Breathing hard, she clutched the crumpled document close to her heart. If she wanted to save her little boy, this was it. She had to try. She had to speak up. "Mr. Bill," she stammered. The words fought to break free, but the lump in her throat made it hard to breathe. "I need to talk to you about Ethan, my son. He's sick." A tremor ran through her voice as she revealed the truth that had shadowed her every waking moment. The laughter of children playing outside echoed off the stark walls. Children like Ethan. But for Sarah, life had grown painfully complicated. Her determination to provide for her son had morphed into an emotional battle against the universe. Bill, with his narrow eyes and serious demeanor, looked up. For a heart-stopping moment, she thought he wouldn't understand. Then, unexpectedly, she saw something shift in him, like a cloud moving away from the sun, making way for a warm glow. He leaned forward, listening, the tension in the room palpable. "Tell me everything," he said, voice softening. As she poured her heart out, explaining the struggle of balancing work and her son's illness, tears streaked down her cheeks, and she despised how vulnerable she felt. But there was truth in her pain. She could see Bill's expression change as he absorbed her plight. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Bill pulled a check from his desk, handing it to her with grave sincerity. "This is for you, $20,000 to help with your son's medical bills." A rush of gratitude washed over her, yet it mingled with something darker. Shame? Pride? Was it real kindness or just a band-aid on a deep wound? Before Sarah could find her voice, the room filled with murmurs of others who had gathered, co-workers who had been silently sharing in her ordeal. "Wow, Sarah, I had no idea," one of her colleagues chimed in, stepping forward. The murmur grew, swelling like a chorus, as others began to unveil their struggles too. Financial woes, family illnesses, and the sheer weight of day-to-day life in the suburbs began to unite them in a new, powerful way. A family of the heart. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As stories flowed, the atmosphere shifted, charged with something electric. Hope and solidarity intertwined, exposing the raw honesty of their lives. But like a rising tide, an urgent question loomed in the air: could one man's generosity stem change in a system that felt so unforgiving? As Sarah stood amid her newfound community, a knot of gratitude and confusion twisted in her stomach. With her heart pounding and the faces of her colleagues reflecting a shared commitment to help one another, Sarah felt the tension build. Would this moment ignite true transformation, or merely mask the fractures of their collective struggles? The answer lingered, heavy and unresolved, as they all realized this was just the beginning. The next few days felt surreal for Sarah. With the $20,000 check burning a hole in her pocket, she found herself oscillating between relief and disbelief. She had already called the hospital to schedule Ethan's treatment, but it wasn't just the medical bill that plagued her, it was everything that came with it. The implications of the support she received weighed heavily on her mind. With her co-workers rallying behind her, a sense of responsibility gripped her heart. Instead of viewing this as a mere handout, Sarah felt compelled to transform this moment into something bigger. Her quick chats with colleagues turned into deep discussions during lunch breaks. They shared their concerns about the healthcare system, about families like hers who were constantly fighting just to stay afloat. "Sarah, have you thought about starting something?" Like a fund or a nonprofit? One of her co-workers suggested, excitement dancing in her eyes. The thought sent a thrill through her but also a hint of fear. Could she really be the voice for everyone? The idea bore weight and promise, yet it felt just out of reach. What if she failed? What if she fell flat? That evening, Sarah lay awake, staring at the ceiling. With Ethan's soft breathing in the next room, she felt a clarion call resonate within her. She couldn't let this opportunity slip away. With her phone illuminated in the dark, she began crafting a basic plan, outlining steps she could take to make their collective voice heard. Day by day, as her resolve strengthened, Sarah organized meetings to discuss their experiences. One Friday, she gathered her team in the break room, their faces illuminated by fluorescent lights. The atmosphere was tense but hopeful. "I know this might be unexpected," she started, her hands trembling slightly, "but we all have a shattered part of life we deal with every day. And together, we can make a change." Leaning forward, she shared her vision. "Let us start a fund. A fund that helps support families like ours when medical emergencies strike. We can work on it together." The murmurs that followed weren't of skepticism, but of agreement. "I'm in. Count me in too." The initial uncertainty melted quickly as enthusiasm took hold. They brainstormed ideas on how to raise money, with suggestions ranging from bake sales to community walks. However, the flicker of excitement was accompanied by an undercurrent of apprehension. What if people didn't contribute? What if the fund couldn't help those in need? Those questions nipped at her heels, but she shoved them aside. The following week, Bill approached Sarah during a coffee break. "I've heard about your idea. You're onto something special, and I'd like to help." He flashed a supportive smile that made her pulse race. "I can get the company to match donations for the first 6 months. It'll be a good start." Her heart swelled with gratitude, yet doubt lingered. Would that be enough? So many families were struggling, and the thought of failure gnawed at her mind. She felt the weight of her son's fate intertwined with this mission. As weeks passed, their collective efforts began to take shape, but just as hope ignited, shadows loomed on the horizon. Sarah couldn't shake the impending sense of obstacles yet to come. One evening, after a long day at work, she received an email from the hospital that bounced her from her euphoric state. Ethan's treatment would require more than just the initial set of funds. Her fingers trembled as she absorbed the reality, dread pooling in her stomach. How could this happen? She whispered to herself, feeling the walls closing in again. She had so much commitment from her colleagues, but what if it wasn't enough for her son? Currents of doubt threatened to pull her under. Gazing out the window, it felt like 2 roads lay before her, to fight through the uncertainty or let it consume her. In that moment, the choice wasn't just about her son anymore. It was about every single family relying on her newfound mission. In the quiet of that night, her phone buzzed. A message from her colleague popped up: "We believe in you, Sarah. Let us do this together." For the first time in days, she felt a flicker of hope rise again. But the truth stared her down: could they overcome the challenges together? And at what cost? As this chapter of her life unfolded, uncertainty loomed larger than ever. Sarah woke early the next morning, her mind racing with thoughts of the looming medical expenses. The coffee in her cup felt cold before she even took the first sip, as a knot of uncertainty twisted in her stomach. After Ethan's diagnosis, financial discussions became a regular feature of her days, and now the details from the hospital email replayed relentlessly in her mind. The reality of the costs felt insurmountable. On her way to work, her heart thudded in her chest. Today was the day she'd present her plan to the higher-ups. Would they believe in her vision? Opening up about her son's medical needs to her CEO felt like standing on a precipice. What if they found her appeal desperate? The thought made her stomach churn. As she stepped into the office, the familiar buzz of the workplace greeted her. Co-workers were sharing their experiences, fueling her determination. She reached the conference room early, arranging the notes in front of her, each page a testament to her purpose. The door swung open, and faces filled with anticipation flooded in. "Thanks for coming, everyone," she started, her voice shaking slightly, but she pushed through. "I know these discussions might feel daunting, but together we can create real support for families like mine. I want to show you how we could make a difference." As she laid out her plan, she could see eyes widening. People leaned forward, hungry for change. When she spoke about the fund, detailing how it could bridge gaps in care and alleviate financial burdens, they listened closely. The passionate murmurs of agreement bounced around the room, igniting flickers of hope. That's when she decided to share Ethan's story. She opened up, fighting back tears. "I'm standing here not just for myself, but for all families battling unseen battles, for parents who don't know how they'll afford medicine or treatment, for families who feel lost." The room fell silent, the only sound was her heartbeat echoing in her ears. After her presentation, she hesitated but pushed herself to look at her boss, Mr. Taylor, sitting at the head of the table. "I know this might sound bold," but she drew a deep breath. "I would love your support. The company matches donations for the first 6 months, which is an amazing start, but I'm reaching out today not just for a match. I'm asking for you to stand behind us and this movement." He studied her, a flicker of understanding sparking in his eyes. The silence felt unbearable, but then he spoke, his tone soft yet firm. "Thank you for trusting us with your story, Sarah. It takes incredible courage to share something so personal." Her heart raced. What would he say next? "I want to help. We're willing to contribute $20,000 to the fund today to get this started." Tears filled her eyes, blurring her vision as relief washed over her. Could this truly be happening? She felt a weight lifting off her shoulders. The importance of this moment settled deep within her. Sarah glanced at her colleagues, seeing their wide eyes and bright smiles. Could they really change lives? "Together, we can build something beautiful," Mr. Taylor continued, his voice steadying her. "This is just the beginning. Let us make healthcare better for those who need it." As the meeting came to a close, Sarah felt new energy surging through her veins. Together, they could forge ahead. But as she gathered her papers, doubt crept back like an uninvited guest. Was it enough? Would this initial support carry them through the challenges ahead? She walked out of the conference room, buoyed by the support but weary from uncertainty. The road they had started could lead to incredible change, or it could derail into an overwhelming void. As she re-entered her workspace, she glanced at her phone. There was a new message. It was from another colleague. "Let us prepare ourselves for the next step. We have this." But uncertainty clawed within her, whispering questions that had no answers yet. Could this mission truly fulfill its promise to those desperately in need? With hope flickering like a candle in the wind, Sarah prepared to face whatever lay ahead. She had ignited a spark, but would it be enough to light the way for others? The days that followed felt like a whirlwind for Sarah. Each morning brought a mix of hope and anxiety. The support from her initial presentation filled her with a renewed sense of purpose. But the glow of that victory dimmed as the reality of the situation set in. They needed more than just a start, every dollar counted in the chase to make a widespread impact. During her lunch breaks, Sarah sat in her car, scrolling through countless articles about healthcare funding and charity models. The number of families grappling with medical expenses made her stomach churn. She couldn't breathe under the weight of it. With Ethan's health still wobbling around like a tightrope walker, she wondered if they could sustain the momentum they had begun to build. One afternoon, as she shuffled back to her desk, a familiar face caught her eye. It was Amelia, a coworker who had recently been through her own family health crisis. Unlike Sarah, Amelia had chosen to keep her difficulties private. Now, seeing Amelia smile felt like spotting a lighthouse in a storm. "Hey, Sarah," Amelia greeted, her voice warm. I heard about your meeting last week. I just wanted to say I'm proud of you. Thanks, Amelia, Sarah replied, a hint of disbelief in her tone. It's still so daunting. I'm grateful for the initial support, but I worry it won't be enough. Amelia nodded knowingly. I get it. It's tough to rally everyone together. But maybe you shouldn't carry this alone. People want to help. They just need a nudge. Those words ignited something in Sarah. A plan began to form. What if they organized an office fundraiser? An event could rally not just immediate contributions but also raise awareness throughout the company. With newfound determination, Sarah reached out to her colleagues, presenting the idea during a casual afternoon gathering. They exchanged excited ideas, bake sales, raffles, even a talent show. Each suggestion fueled the fire inside her. Their shared laughter and enthusiasm reminded her of the strength found in community. As weeks rolled on, Sarah worked tirelessly to orchestrate the event, all the while managing her home life with Ethan. Despite feeling stretched thin, moments of joy sparked with every laughter-filled planning session in the office. The talent show took shape, exposing hidden skills among her co-workers, uniting them in a common cause. The day of the event finally arrived. The office buzzed with energy, colorful posters hung on the walls, and a sense of camaraderie filled the air. Sarah stepped to the microphone, her voice firm but emotional. Thank you all for being here today. This isn't just about raising money, it's about creating a support system for families going through incredible challenges. Your involvement is changing lives, including my son's. As she spoke, she caught a glimpse of Mr. Taylor standing in the back. He gave her a nod of encouragement, and hope surged through her. Could this be the turning point they had been longing for? Then, just as they got ready to begin the talent show, Sarah's phone buzzed. It was another message from Amelia. I wasn't going to say anything, but I have a surprise for you later. You won't believe it. Curiosity mixed with dread. Was it good news? Bad news? Her heart raced. The moment of truth would come, through raises, surprises, or heartbreak. She took a breath, pushing worry aside. The show started, laughter filled the room, and a sense of purpose washed over her. But that vibrancy couldn't extinguish the tightening knot in her stomach. What could Amelia be hinting at? As the evening unfolded, Sarah couldn't help but wonder, what would the next surprise mean for them all? Would it pave the way to even greater possibilities, or throw everything into chaos? The talent show was in full swing, and Sarah could barely catch her breath between acts. Laughter rang out like joyous bells, and spirits seemed to soar higher with each performance, her colleagues revealing hidden talents they had kept under wraps. There was Dave, the shy accountant, strumming a guitar and singing off-key but with heartfelt passion. Then came Grace, who wowed everyone with a stand-up routine that had tears of laughter rolling down faces. But every cheer was followed by the unsettling thought of Amelia's message. In between bursts of laughter, Sarah felt a pinch of unease gnawing at her insides. What surprise awaited her? Last but not least, everyone, she announced cheerfully, trying to mask her anxiety. Please welcome Amelia as she shares her talent. Amelia stepped on stage, a radiant smile plastered on her face. She glanced at Sarah, and for a split second, Sarah could see something in her eyes, intensity mixed with vulnerability. It was a look she had seen before in herself, especially when the weight of the world felt just too heavy. Amelia began to sing, her voice soft yet powerful, radiating confidence as she poured her heart into the lyrics. It was a song about resilience, about fighting through pain and finding hope in darkness. The room fell silent, every person engrossed in the melody. Tears prickled at the corners of Sarah's eyes. Amelia's song spoke volumes, echoing their shared struggles and dreams for their families and futures. As her song concluded, the next moment was electric. The applause erupted into a standing ovation, cheers filling the room. Sarah felt her heart swell with pride for her friend, yet the anticipation of what Amelia might reveal lingered like a shadow in her mind. When Amelia stepped back from the mic, the energy of the room began to fade, and she took a moment, breathing deeply. "I have something important to share," she said, her voice trembling slightly. The chatter quieted down, and Sarah's heart raced. Amelia paused, glancing nervously at Sarah before beginning. "Like many of you, I've been hiding my struggles for too long. My family has dealt with serious health issues, and the bills they've been crippling. But I know I'm not alone in this fight." As she spoke, she retrieved a folder from her pocket, holding it close to her chest like a precious artifact. "I received help from a wonderful organization last year when things got really tough. They changed our lives, and when I learned about Sarah's efforts, it inspired me to give back." The anticipation in the room thickened. What was she getting at? Amelia continued, "I reached out to a few people who believe in our mission today. Mr. Taylor included." Then she took a breath and opened the folder. Seeing the words, "donation letter," catch the light felt like a punch to the gut. Sarah stood frozen, her pulse quickening as hope and fear competed for dominance. This was the decision that could change their future. "I'm proud to announce that our company will make a $20,000 donation to support Sarah's fundraising efforts." Amelia's voice rang out, and as those words registered, the office erupted into jubilant applause. Sarah stood in stunned silence, her heart racing, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. A mix of disbelief and overwhelming joy flooded over her. The sheer impact of that generosity enveloped her like a warm blanket on a cold night. Yet in the midst of celebration, another thought crept in. "I can't believe this is happening," she whispered to herself, anticipation building once more. Yet, beneath the excitement, a new question stirred. How would they channel this newfound support? What struggles lay ahead as they ventured deeper into this mission? As the cheers echoed around her, Sarah glanced at Amelia, who was talking to Mr. Taylor with a smile. And just then, she felt the weight of an entire world resting on her shoulders once again. But this time, it felt lighter. What would Sarah do next? Would she rise to the challenge and harness this momentum into lasting change? How far could they really go? The applause subsided, but the buzz of excitement lingered in the air, crackling with potential. Sarah stood in that moment, uncertain yet so very hopeful. She looked around at her colleagues, faces bright with joy and encouragement, and felt a rush of determination. This wasn't just about her anymore. It was about all of them, about their ability to uplift each other through the storm. "Can you believe this?" Grace whispered, nudging Sarah gently. "This is huge." "Yeah," Sarah breathed out, still trying to grasp the magnitude of the donation. "But what now? We need to make this count." With that, Sarah turned her gaze back to Amelia, who was receiving congratulations from the crowd, her eyes sparkling with pride. It struck Sarah then how powerful this moment was. The transformation that had sparked in Amelia could spread like wildfire. It wasn't merely about helping one person but igniting a communal effort to support many families facing similar struggles, individuals wrestling with financial burdens, all connected in a shared mission of hope. "Should we start planning something?" Sarah asked, her voice steadying into resolve. "Absolutely. We can brainstorm activities, set a timeline, maybe even make it a monthly event." Grace offered enthusiastically, her eyes glimmering with ambition. As Sarah began forming ideas in her mind, adrenaline surged within her. Each passing second felt like a heartbeat powering a movement. They had an opportunity to turn this windfall into something colossal, forging paths towards solutions for the challenges they all silently endured. "You know what would really help?" Sarah said, glancing between Grace and a few nearby co-workers. "We need to share our stories. Let us have a meeting where everyone can talk about what they're facing. If we all open up, we can build trust and find the strength we need to move forward." The group nodded, murmurs of agreement rippling through the crowd. Sarah felt lighter, her heart no longer just racing from anxiety, but now racing from the sheer thrill of possibility. As the talent show started winding down, Sarah made her way towards the stage where Amelia stood signing autographs and graciously accepting hugs. She approached her friend, feeling a surge of gratitude wash over her. "Amelia, what you did today, it's incredible. Thank you for believing in us and bringing this support to life," Sarah said, vulnerability threading through her voice. Amelia's smile widened, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I'd do it 1,000 times over if it means helping each other. We're in this together, right?" The connection between them felt tangible, a shared understanding surfacing among the noise of celebration. Just then, Mr. Taylor, their stern but kind-hearted CEO, walked over, cutting through the waves of cheering voices. "Amelia," he called, "that was quite a performance. Not just the singing, but your message. You and Sarah inspire all of us." "Thank you, sir," Amelia replied, glancing at Sarah. "Have you both thought about how you intend to use the donation?" Mr. Taylor asked, his expression softening. Sarah felt her heart leap again at the consideration. "We have some ideas, but we could really use support to strategize to make sure it goes as far as possible." Mr. Taylor nodded, the wheels clearly turning in his mind. "Let us meet next week. I want to help. This could be the beginning of something truly impactful." As he turned to walk away, Sarah felt a rush of warmth. Not just from the support, but from the knowledge that things were shifting. They had momentum, they had the beginnings of organization, and they had a clear path forward. With renewed strength, Sarah looked back at Amelia. "Are you ready to change lives?" "Ready as I'll ever be," Amelia replied, and they shared a knowing smile that fortified their mission. Little did they know, as they laughed and dreamt together, a storm was brewing beyond their small corner of the world. For challenges would soon rise, testing their resolve in ways they never anticipated. What awaited them on this journey of compassion turned ambition? Would their efforts to help others become a beacon of resilience, or would unforeseen obstacles threaten to drown their dreams? The following week felt charged with potential. The hum of anticipation coursed through the office as Sarah prepared for the meeting with Mr. Taylor. She spent sleepless nights sorting through countless ideas, refining the plans for their upcoming initiatives. But as the day drew closer, doubt nibbled at the edges of her determination. What if their efforts weren't enough? What if their vision didn't resonate? With a deep breath, she pushed the worries aside. This wasn't just about her anymore. They had built a foundation with Amelia and the team, a network of support that could withstand anything. At the appointed time, Sarah and Amelia found themselves in the conference room with Mr. Taylor. The room felt vast and imposing, filled with glass walls and stark white furniture. It mirrored the gravity of what they were about to discuss. "Thank you for coming," Mr. Taylor began, his presence commanding attention. "I've been thinking about how we can maximize the impact of the donation. This is a unique opportunity, and I want to ensure we do it right." As Sarah listened, her heart began to race. This was the moment they had envisioned a chance to kickstart something extraordinary. "We could organize workshops," Sarah suggested, her voice gaining steadiness. "Focus on financial literacy, maybe connect employees with local resources. If we gather stories, we'll find common ground to stand on." Amelia nodded vigorously, adding, "And we could highlight personal experiences. People are more willing to engage when they see how others have overcome hardships." Mr. Taylor leaned back, contemplating. "What if we do more than just workshops? What if we set up a fund? Something dedicated to helping employees facing financial difficulties, medical bills, tuition fees. We could have an emergency relief fund that employees can apply to, based on their needs." The room filled with stunned silence. Sarah felt her heart skip. The implications were staggering. This could change lives not just for a few, but for countless individuals and families. "Absolutely!" Sarah exclaimed, her excitement bubbling over. It would provide tangible support where it's needed most. As they brainstormed specifics, Sarah couldn't help but imagine the ripple effects. Families relieved of burdens, students empowered to finish school, co-workers coming together to lend a hand. This was bigger than any of them had hoped. However, Mr. Taylor had one more surprise up his sleeve. "I want to pledge $20,000 to start the fund," he announced, his tone steady but filled with warmth. "I believe in this initiative and I believe in all of you." Tears sprang to Amelia's eyes, and Sarah felt her own heart swell. This was more than just financial aid. It was validation, a testament to the strength of their efforts. As they discussed terms and logistics, Sarah felt the weight of her self-doubt lifting. Each word exchanged, each idea woven into the fabric of their plan, felt like a promise, a commitment to support one another in a world that often felt isolating. After the meeting wrapped up, Sarah and Amelia stepped out into the hallway, their hearts racing. They exchanged glances, an unspoken understanding passing between them. "Imagine the lives we can touch," Amelia said, her voice barely above a whisper. "We're just getting started," Sarah replied, a grin stretching across her face. But in the back of her mind, a nagging thought lingered. How would they manage the distractions and challenges that would inevitably arise? The road ahead wouldn't be smooth. What if the very foundation they'd begun to build was tested more than they could prepare for? And what additional revelations awaited? How could they protect their dream from the unseen storms just around the corner? The excitement from the meeting still buzzed between Sarah and Amelia as they stepped out into the busy office corridor. People hurried past them, engrossed in their own worlds and projects, while Sarah's mind raced ahead, picturing the first steps they would take with the fund. But lingering doubts still tainted her moment of triumph. "What if nobody applies for the fund?" Sarah asked, wringing her hands together. "What if we don't get the momentum we need?" Amelia turned to her, her eyes bright with conviction. "We can't let fear hold us back. We'll advertise it well, engage with the employees. They need to know this is for them and that they won't be alone." "Right," Sarah agreed, though uncertainty still resided in her chest. She worried about the potential hurdles they'd face, a hesitant workforce, perhaps, or even bureaucratic red tape that could stifle their drive. That night, Sarah lay in bed unable to sleep. Her mind was alive with visions of the future they could create. Still, doubts niggled away at her, whispering that they might not be ready for what was to come. She had to remind herself that change had never been easy. The days turned into weeks, and the fund rolled out smoothly. They held an engaging kickoff meeting where Sarah and Amelia passionately presented their ideas, explaining how the fund would work. Employees listened, some nodding while others looked skeptical. They handed out pamphlets and answered questions, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that deep down, many were still hesitant. "Let us reach out on a personal level," Amelia suggested one afternoon. "We can gather stories and testimonials. Show what this fund could mean through real examples." By the end of the following week, they had collected several heartwarming personal account stories of struggle, resilience, and hope. Employees filed into the makeshift space they used to share their narratives, and Sarah marveled at the vulnerability displayed before her. Each story was unique, yet they all shared a common thread, a desire for support in their darkest times. As the fund began to see its first applicants, Sarah felt a swell of pride and relief. Finally, people were stepping forward. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. One particular night, as they were sifting through applications, Sarah came across a name that sent a chill down her spine. It was Bethany, a single mother battling a major illness. The medical bills were suffocating her, and Sarah could feel the weight of her situation press down on her own heart. "Amelia, look at this," Sarah whispered as she pointed to the application. The desperation in Bethany's words struck a chord, pulling at Sarah's emotional heartstrings. Amelia read the application, her brow furrowing. "We have to help her. She's a hard worker and has contributed so much. This could literally save her life." But as they discussed how to approach approval for such a substantial demand, doubts crept in again. How could they manage the expectations of everyone else who might apply? What if they had to make tough decisions later on? And what if they weren't able to fulfill every request? Just then, a message pinged on Sarah's phone. It was from Mr. Taylor, asking to meet the next day. What do you think he wants? Amelia asked, raising an eyebrow. I don't know, but it feels important, Sarah replied, gripping her phone tightly. An uneasiness settled into her stomach. What if he is concerned about the fund? We'll just have to wait and see, Amelia said, her smile reassuring but tinged with uncertainty. As night fell, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something pivotal was about to happen. She wanted to believe in their mission, to trust that they were doing the right thing. But as her mind raced, she wondered, what was Mr. Taylor going to reveal? Could his response to their efforts shift everything once more, or was it the beginning of a more significant challenge lurking ahead? The air felt thick the next morning as Sarah stepped into the office, the weight of anticipation making her stomach churn. She and Amelia exchanged nervous glances, both of them aware that this meeting could change everything. Just breathe, Amelia whispered, placing a hand on Sarah's shoulder, giving it a reassuring squeeze. We've come this far. Whatever happens, we face it together. Sarah nodded, her heart racing. They found Mr. Taylor waiting in the conference room, his expression unreadable behind those rectangular glasses. Good morning, ladies, he said, gesturing for them to take a seat. The room felt smaller under the intensity of the moment, a tension hanging in the air like a dark cloud. Thank you for meeting with us, Mr. Taylor, Sarah started, trying to sound more confident than she felt. We've seen some really promising applications for the fund and I know, Mr. Taylor interrupted, his tone serious. I've been following your progress closely. I appreciate the passion you both bring to this initiative. He paused, and Sarah held her breath, waiting for the other shoe to drop. What I want to discuss is the current state of the fund, he continued, looking directly at her. Some of the applications we've received raise concerns about how we're allocating funds. We need to ensure we do this right. There are limits we simply cannot exceed. Sarah's throat tightened. We understand, but let me finish, he interjected gently. I am impressed by the personal stories I've seen. However, we have to be careful. If we aren't, we might set a precedent that could cause problems down the line. Amelia leaned forward. We know it's a balancing act, but you can feel the hope this fund is generating. People are coming forward, sharing their struggles, wanting to be part of something bigger. We can't let fear dictate our ability to help those who need it most. Mr. Taylor nodded slowly, but Sarah could see the flicker of concern in his eyes. She took a breath, determined to let her heart speak. We're not asking for a blank check. We want to be thoughtful and strategic. But Bethany, she needs help now. We can't ignore that, can we? Mr. Taylor's fingers drummed thoughtfully on the table's surface. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. What if he decided their passion wasn't enough? Finally, he leaned back and sighed heavily. I'm a businessman, Sarah. The company's interests must come first. But maybe I can see a path forward. He cleared his throat. I want to contribute personally to this fund to help those in need. I'm prepared to put in a sum $20,000. The words hung in the air like a spark igniting a flame. Sarah blinked, feeling a rush of emotions. Are you serious? She managed to stutter, her heart racing with disbelief. Yes, he replied, his tone softening. I've seen enough people struggle and I can't help but want to do something meaningful. If this can change lives, then it's worth the investment. Tears welled in Amelia's eyes, and Sarah felt a lump in her throat. This could truly save her. It could do more, Mr. Taylor continued, a faint smile warming his face. It could inspire others to engage, to support one another. This is just the beginning. The conversation shifted, and they began strategizing how to share this news with the employees. Sarah could feel the tide turning, the momentum picking up. Hope flooded back into the room. They were in this together, and they could make a difference. But just as optimism filled her heart, a thought struck Sarah like lightning. What would happen if others started wanting more than just support? If these funds were met with overwhelming requests, would they be equipped to handle the growing need? As the meeting wrapped up, Sarah caught glimpses of hesitant yet hopeful faces filled with a mix of gratitude and worry about the future. They were just at the start of a journey that could change lives. What other challenges awaited them? What did this unexpected act of generosity truly mean for the path ahead? Just outside the conference room, Sarah glanced at Amelia. We need to prepare for what's coming next. This is only the beginning. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind for Sarah and Amelia. The excitement of Mr. Taylor's $20,000 contribution ignited a fervor in the office. People shuffled past each other with bright smiles, eager to take part in the unfolding narrative of hope and support. But with success came the weight of responsibility. Could they really deliver on the promise of change? Sarah found herself at the epicenter of planning meetings. They organized outreach events and connected with local charities, setting goals for how the fund could touch lives. There was a palpable energy in the air, but beneath that enthusiasm, Sarah felt the lingering fear. Would they have enough resources to help everyone in need? One morning, anxiety wrapped around her as she prepared to present their next phase to the team. She sat in the break room, scrolling through messages of gratitude from those who had applied for assistance. Each reflection teetered on the edge of desperation and hope. Glancing at Amelia, who was busy organizing flyers, Sarah felt compelled to speak up. "Amelia, do you think this will be enough?" Sarah asked, her voice low. "What if we're unable to meet the growing demand?" Amelia paused and looked up, her expression serious. "We have a good start, but we can't stop here. We need to keep pushing, keep raising awareness, and engaging everyone from the ground up. The more we involve employees, the better we can manage expectations." Taking a deep breath, Sarah nodded, her resolve strengthening. "You're right. We're building something, and it needs to be sustainable. Let us gather stories at our next meeting. Show people how this fund is making a difference." As the day drew closer, the buzz among employees crescendoed. They prepared to showcase how funds had already helped a few families within the organization. The break room transformed into a vibrant space decorated with colorful visuals illustrating their journey. But amidst the decor, Sarah's heart fluttered with trepidation. The moment arrived. Colleagues gathered, filling chairs and leaning against walls. Eyes were glimmering with anticipation. But Sarah felt the room's weight grow heavier as she stood before them. She could sense doubt lingering among the crowd, questions unspoken. With Amelia by her side, Sarah opened the discussion. "Thank you all for being here. We're here to share how the fund is already making important changes in our community." She shared stories, testimonials swirling with emotion, narrating the impact of their collective efforts. Faces filled with emotion, some tears sparkling in the corner of eyes, resonating with her every word. But just as the applause began to swell, Sarah felt a knot of uncertainty tighten in her chest. She had shared the victories, but what about setbacks? What about those who still needed help? Turning to the audience, Sarah took a deep breath. "I want to be clear. We've made strides, yes. But we're still at the beginning of this journey. We can't forget that many families are waiting for their chance and we need to be their voice. We've only started to scratch the surface." A murmur rippled through the crowd, acknowledging the truth in her words. She pressed on, her voice gaining traction. "Let us put our heads together to dream bigger. Form committees, organize events, think of innovative ways to raise awareness." As the discussions unfolded, individuals began to volunteer their time and talents. Ideas shot up like rockets: community fitness challenges, bake sales, art auctions. The excitement was contagious, vibrating through the air. When the meeting finally concluded, Sarah felt her heart race with exhilaration. They weren't just a motley crew of co-workers anymore, they were a united front with a single mission. But asking for more from people brought forth questions of sustainability once again. Sarah knew that with every triumph came hurdles, and the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth. A few weeks later, just as they thought they had found their footing, a larger obstacle loomed. One morning, as they sifted through applications, Sarah came across a heart-wrenching case that forced her to confront a bitter reality. It was a luxury and burden intertwined, a single message demanding immediate financial intervention. Would it be possible for them to support all of this? Amelia, I'm worried, Sarah admitted, brushing a hand through her hair. These stories are pouring in, and I can see we're doing what we set out to do, but this feels overwhelming. Amelia paused, acknowledging the weight of Sarah's concern. It can feel like an avalanche, but every step counts, and this isn't a sprint. Let us take it one day at a time. We're building a community that's willing to step up. Lean on them. With a newfound focus, Sarah decided to tackle the conversation head-on. They organized a company-wide meeting, introducing segments focused on transparency. They wanted to share not just what they could provide, but how people who needed help could advocate for themselves. It empowered employees to own their stories, fostering an even deeper connection among themselves. As the meeting continued, it grew clear it wasn't just about the funds, it was about creating a culture of shared empathy. Sarah looked across the room at her colleagues, the energy in the atmosphere palpable. She felt pride blooming in her chest as every person exposed their truths real and raw. And this honesty, this newfound connection, began to solidify their community, emboldening them all to rise stronger. Weeks turned into months, and the fund blossomed beyond expected. Fundraisers became widespread. The momentum led to community outreach events that reached far beyond the office walls. Soon enough, individuals began championing causes, tapping into their networks and expanding their mission further than Sarah ever imagined. But one evening as Sarah prepared dinner, an all-too-familiar turmoil twisted in her stomach. She felt warm and comforted by the sound of Ethan laughing at the table, unaware of the chaos outside their doors. Yet, something dark flickered at the back of her mind. What if this wave of success caused others to forget the struggles they had once faced? In that moment, determination clamped down on her heart. This couldn't just be a trend. It was a movement crafted from stories and compassion, and they had to keep it alive. She picked up her phone and drafted an email to the team, "Let us keep sharing our mission. Together, we're stronger." With that, Sarah knew this was the legacy they all sought to create. She felt her breath steady as resolve flooded through her. They wouldn't let fear hijack their efforts, they would bring light into dark corners and make their community's heartbeat echo louder. As weeks closed in on a year since the fund's inception, they announced a grand gala to gather stories and celebrate the lives they had touched. Thousands were raised on that magical night, fueled by laughter, tears, and triumph. As the festivities rolled on, Sarah glanced around the ballroom, her heart brimming with joy. She saw not only who they had become as a team but the legacy they were crafting together. At that moment, amidst the celebration, one thought anchored deeply within her: this unity wasn't just a snapshot of achievement, it was a living testament to change, the kind that ripples through families, and ultimately through communities, shaping futures one story at a time. As the night faded into celebration, Sarah's heart soared, and she leaned into that singular truth that each struggle brought them closer, each story would be a stepping stone for what lay ahead. This was the moment she realized, they weren't just building support, they were building a new way forward. As she left the ballroom that night, she smiled wide, feeling lighter than she had in ages. "Together we'll keep reaching higher," she whispered to herself, and with that promise resonating in her heart, the path ahead sparkled with the light of 1,000 stars. "Now, it's your moment to embrace change." Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire us all. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and let others experience this journey. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending, we want to hear from you. And share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who truly need to see this transformation unfold. This is the moment to show your support, so don't wait not even one more second.